But first, my very short fish out of water story. I haven't practiced this, so I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll see. So, as many of you know, I grew up in the Deep South with my grandparents. And my grandfather was many things. He was my father figure. He was a meat packer, and then a retired meat packer. He was a very Christian deacon, and he was a fisherman. He would frequently leave in the morning with his fishing buddies, elderly gentlemen like himself, and they would go out and spend the day away from the house, having left in the green station wagon, and the green station wagon would come back filled to the gills, with fish. And my grandmother would clean those fish, and they would eat them. I would not, because I hated fish. But I wanted to fish. I wanted to go with my grandfather to fish because I saw this as what men did, and I, as a boy, wanted to become a man. I wanted to go fishing with him. And so I begged, "Take me fishing, Grandpa." And he said, "Oh, you don't want to go fishing, boy?" And I'd say, "No, please." And I would beg and say, "Oh, you don't want to go fishing, boy?" And finally, he relented, and he took me fishing. And so early one morning, we packed up the station wagon, and we packed it with gear and lunch, and we left. And Grandma waved goodbye and looked forward to a quiet day, peaceful at the house on her own. And we headed out. And I was so excited as I saw the municipal lake in the center of Pine Bluff, right next to downtown, coming into view, with the shiny, gleaming new pier in the sunlight. And I imagined a day out there with my grandfather. But I was so confused as it passed, and we kept driving and left it behind. I thought, why are we not stopping there? That's because Grandpa knew where the fish were. We kept going farther and farther out of town until we turned off the paved road onto a dirt road. And we went farther and farther. And then we pulled over, and we stopped, and he shut off the engine, which confused me because I only saw to our left soybean fields, and to my right, brush, but no water. And so Grandpa got out, and I got out, and he took out the poles, and the tackle box, and the lunches, and a machete. And he began to hack through the brush, deeper and deeper and deeper, until before our very eyes, under a lush canopy of vegetation, a lake appeared. He knew where the fish were. He turned an old rusty bucket upside down and gestured for me to sit on it, handed me a pole, and he put on his waders, and he waded out into the water and began to fish. And as bugs flew into every exposed orifice, I realized that I was in the wrong place. I made a terrible mistake. And so I set down my pole and walked back up to the car after 10 minutes and stood there and pouted and waited. And finally, Grandpa emerged, and we packed up and drove home in silence. He didn't say a word to me. We got home and walked in, and Grandma was confused to see us home, surprised. And she said, "Tea?" My grandfather's name was Booker T, so she called him T. She called him T. He loved honey bun, so we called her honey bun. And so he walked in, and she said, "T, why y'all home so soon?" And these were the first words I heard. He took off his hat, slapped his thigh, looked down, and said, "Well, I thought I had me a fishing buddy, but I was wrong." And he walked away. And I knew that I had let him down. I knew that I'd let him down. And it wasn't the first time that I let him down, and it wasn't the last time that I let him down. But the funny thing about Grandpa was he was a stubborn man, and just as he was stubborn, his hopes and his dreams for me were stubborn. And he never gave up. He didn't smile much. He could be very gruff. But he loved me, and he stood by me and supported me reliably, despite my frequently disappointing him. Whether it was taking me where I needed to go to realize my academic ambitions, or making sure that when I came home from school trips after midnight, that I never had to worry if I had a ride waiting for me. Before there were soccer moms and minivans, I knew that there was a green station wagon sitting outside after midnight with tea and honey bun inside waiting to take me home. And even at the end, when I was away at summer camp and the cancer was finishing him off, I'm told that he was asking about me and asking for me. And even though he's not around anymore, and so I don't have a chance to potentially live up to him, I still have the good fortune of having his voice inside my head. And if I have good days, when I have good days, it's usually because I hear that voice telling me to work a little bit harder and see through the bullshit, although he would never say that way, see through the bullshit and follow what's honest and true. And if I ever really have good days, it's because I I not only hear that voice, but I actually listen to that voice. So I'm lucky in that regard. And so thanks and welcome to the corner.